Good morning. My name is Della Albalotti. I am the chair of the House Special Committee to consider miscellaneous communication numbers 1001 and 1002. We are here today convening the noticed meeting of this committee for Tuesday, March 30th, 2021, 10:15 a.m. Here at the State Capitol in Conference Room 325. We have all members of the committee present here in the room. Vice Chair, Representative Mark Nakashima, Representative Linda Ichiyama, Representative Amy Peruso, Representative Scott Matayoshi, and Representative Lauren Matsumoto. We also have present with us via Zoom the parties before this matter. We have Petitioner Michael Goluyuch Sr. participating again via Zoom. Petitioner Carolyn Martinez Goluyuch participating by Zoom. Attorney Howard K. Luke and Representative Sharon Har also participating by Zoom. And for members of the public, we also have Court Reporter Sue Flint, as well as House Chief Attorney Mark Morita here present, as well as various technical IT staff to assist. Thank you very much, members and parties. I'd like to first start at the outset to just say that the work of this committee is very important, and we are being guided by the principles of fairness and impartiality, consistent with the protection of constitutional rights for persons and the preservation of public good. We take the work of this committee very seriously, and I would like to let the members of the public know that as an investigative committee, we have come to this work, this important work, without any predeterminations. We want to act fairly and partially in this matter. Pursuant to the agenda, I'm going to be reviewing the purpose of this committee, as well as rules, process, and procedures. And then the parties will have an opportunity to respond to the rules, process, and procedures that I lay out, followed by questions from special committee members. So to continue along that lines, I wanted to provide first some background to this special committee. On March 10th, 2021, the Speaker of the House of Representatives received the communication dated March 6th, 2021, from private citizen Mike Goluyuch Sr. on behalf of the concerned Democrats of House District 42. This communication was subsequently numbered as miscellaneous communication number 1001. In the communication, Mr. Goluyuch requests that Representative Sharon Hart's case involving an alleged incident of driving under the influence be referred to the Standards of Conduct Committee for investigation and any appropriate action. On March 12th, 2021, the Speaker received a second communication dated March 8th, 2021, from private citizen Carolyn Martinez Goluyuch, petitioning the House of Representatives in accordance with House Rules 46.1 and 46.2. In miscellaneous communication number 1002, Ms. Goluyuch bases her petition on allegations that Representative Har was driving under the influence and driving without an auto insurance policy. She requests that an investigation by the Standards of Conduct Committee be conducted. Rule 4.1 of the rules for the Select Committee on Standards of Conduct, House Rule 4.1, is limited to representatives filing a complaint to the Select Committee on Standards of Conduct. Thus, the communications received from the petitioners would not be applicable to the Select Committee on Standards of Conduct. In response, on March 18th, 2021, the Speaker issued a memo establishing this special committee to consider these two communications pursuant to Rule 14 of the Rules of the House of Representatives. House Rule 14 authorizes the Speaker to appoint special committees for special or temporary purposes to consider and report on matters referred to. Just to note, this special committee was not established pursuant to Chapter 21 of the Hawaii Revised Statutes, which provides an alternative process for forming an investigative committee. In the memorandum, the Speaker states that the petitions request the House to investigate whether Representative Har's conduct on February 22nd, 2021 violates the House Code of Legislative Conduct found in Rule 62. In addition to appointing the 6 members of the special committee and designating the chair and vice chair of the committee, myself and Representative Makishima, the speaker laid out 6 rules of procedure. Today's hearing responds in part to Rule 4 of the memorandum, establishing a special committee which directs the committee to convene as soon as practicable after a matter has been referred to it. Accordingly, the purpose of the special committee is to investigate the matter referred to it and submit a report of the committee's findings and recommendations to the House once the investigation has concluded. Today's meeting will be limited to setting the administrative and procedural parameters of this committee. Today's meeting will not address, and I want to emphasize this, today's meeting will not address or discuss the merits of this matter. The focus of this body's investigation is on whether Representative Har violated any of the standards of conduct set forth in the House Rule 62 through her conduct relating to the alleged incident on February 22nd, 2021. It appears at this time, prior to the receipt of any documents from the petitioners or affected manner, or to the start of this committee's investigation, we have to consider Rule 62.1. Quote, members should conduct themselves in a respectful manner, befitting the office which they as elected officials have been entrusted, respecting and complying with the law, and affecting at all times in a manner that promotes public confidence in the integrity of the House. As the investigation proceeds, this body can determine whether other Rule 62 standards are also implicated. So, again, the purpose is to investigate the matter referred to it and submit a report of our findings and recommendations to the House once our investigation has concluded. So to give members an idea of the range of possible outcomes of this special committee's investigation, we can do a number of things. No action can be recommended. The special committee may conclude that no action is recommended based on its investigation. Article 3, Section 12 of the Hawaii State Constitution provides, quote, each House shall have for misconduct, disorderly behavior, or neglect of duty of any member power to punish such members by censure or upon a 2/3 vote of all members to which such House is entitled by suspension or expulsion of such members. I want to note the House rules do not contain any explicit remedy for a violation of the House rules unless the investigation is being done by a select committee on standards of conduct. And in addition, House Rule 28.11 provides, quote, the House may censure its members for disorderly conduct or neglect of conduct. The House may also suspend or expel a member by a 2/3 vote of the total membership of the House. Select committee members, I'm providing this range of sanctions, but again, of possible actions, but none of this has, of course, been determined yet. So pursuant to the memo provided to us and outlining our rules, process, and procedures, I want to highlight a few. Rule 3 states that the affected member may continue to exercise the member's legislative functions while the matter is pending. Rule 4 tasks our committee with reviewing relevant written documentation and other evidence submitted by the petitioner and affected member, and at the discretion of the chair, myself, to conduct any investigative hearings. Rule 4 also states that at any special committee hearing, petitioners and affected member or their attorneys shall each be provided an opportunity to make statements and answer questions from the special committee. However, Rule 4 does not contemplate, and I will not allow, cross-examination of the petitioners or the affected members. So primarily presentation of evidence. Rule 5 directs that evidence that is clear and convincing shall be considered. Rule 6 directs that once the investigation of the special committee has concluded, the special committee shall submit a report of its findings and recommendations to the House. So that is the work that we are working towards, members, the product we are working towards. House Rule 14.3 provides that meetings of special committees shall be conducted in the same manner as provided for standing committees. So without objection from the members here, rules relating to quorum and voting shall continue to apply. And I see no objections from the members here. The speaker is authorized to issue subpoena or subpoena ducis tecum, requiring the attendance of witnesses or production of records pursuant to House Rule 2.1, should committee members wish to have that done. House Rule 55.2 authorizes any member of the House to administer oaths to witnesses in any manner pending before this committee. I recommend that any witness before this committee be required to make their statements under oath, and we can take that matter up if we get to that point. I will be requiring that any written testimony or documents produced for committee consideration be submitted by the petitioners and the affected member at least 1 week prior to the hearing to allow the members time to consider the materials. Accordingly, hearing or meeting notices shall be filed at least 2 weeks prior to the hearing. I also envision at the next meeting on this matter or hearing, petitioners and the affected member shall be provided an allotted number of minutes to present their statements, and the members of the special committee shall have an allotted number of minutes to question the petitioners and the affected member, Representative Har. I know that's been a lot to cover. Again, we do have a court reporter transcribing these proceedings, so I will provide that to members of the committee as well as the parties. With the above parameters in mind, I would now like to give both petitioners and Representative Har an opportunity to respond to the process laid out for this special committee. I do request, Mr. Luke, that on behalf of Representative Har, if you can indicate any dates for the pending criminal proceeding of which you are aware of during your response to this matter. So first up, we have Petitioner Michael Golujuc Sr. Mr. Golujuc, 10 minutes, and then we'll proceed with Mrs. Golujuc.
Present. Do you want me to go ahead with my statement?
Yes, and the statement is a response, sir, to the process laid out for the special committee. I do want to remind you that we are not discussing the merits of the matter, but your response to the process that I've laid out.
Oh, okay. I understood what you said, and I can follow through and do what you asked.
Okay, you do have 10 minutes, but if that's enough, you don't have to use the full 10 minutes, Mr. Golujuc. Mrs. Golujuc, any response to the process and procedures and rules that I've laid out?
No, not at this time. And I do have one question. Would I be allowed to record this so that I remember what I said?
You are allowed to, Ms. Golujuc, but as I said, we do also have a court reporter transcribing the discussion and the content of these meetings. So I will provide that to petitioners, the Representative Har, her counsel, as well as members of the committee.
Okay, thank you. I concur with what you've said, and I'm willing to abide by the rules of this meeting.
Thank you, Mrs. Golujuc. Up next is Mr. Luke.
Yes, thank you very much, Representative Bellotti. That's very clear what you indicated. The only question I have is regarding the timetable. What would be the time in which I would be allowed to file any motions or any documents or provide any evidence on behalf of Representative Har?
As I indicated, Mr. Luke, for the next meeting of this committee, our goal is to put out a notice 2 weeks in advance, and then we would request that the parties provide statements and documents, and then at that time you could also present your motion 1 week in advance of the meeting.
Thanks very much. That's very clear. The only thing I would like to add is in response to your invitation to talk about proceedings that are occurring with the courts. We have a arraignment and plea date already calendared for the later part of April. Specifically now, unless it's continued or advanced, it's April 20 of 2021. In the interim, the case having already been filed, case is pending, and therefore I respectfully request that the proceedings and the process, which I have no objection to, at least at this time, be held in abeyance until the conclusion of the proceedings that are already calendared in the district court.
Okay, so as I understand the request, it's a request to stay our proceedings until the criminal proceedings are completed.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Any other comments, Mr. Luke? Or
No,
I do want to give you the full 20 minutes that you have.
That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Okay. In our agenda, we now have questions from the special committee members. Members, any questions about the process laid out? Or any questions to petitioners or Mr. Luke? And again, we're focusing on the rules, process, procedures. Seeing no questions. Okay. In response to Mr. Luke's request, and again, because this body is very sensitive and respects due process rights, as well as want to conduct a fair and impartial meeting and investigation, all meetings and investigations of this committee. My recommendation is to postpone any subsequent meeting of this special committee until sometime after the criminal case against Representative Har has concluded. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns from the members?
I have.
Okay, seeing none.
Chair. It's
Yes,
Carolyn.
Petitioner Goluyuch, we're taking up my recommendation to
Right.
stay the proceedings at this time until the criminal proceedings are completed.
There was already a time on a Thursday that Representative Har did appear before someone in the
Mrs. Goluyuch, we're having a technical difficulty and we cannot hear you. It appears that we may have lost connection. We'll wait until they hopefully can reconnect. But for the parties and the members, I'm going to allow Ms. Goluyuch just as a kind of a response to Mr. Luke's request to make her statement. And then Mr. Luke, I will also give you an opportunity to rebut anything, and then that will be the end of that discussion. And then members, we will take up the recommendation that I've made, and I'll ask Vice Chair Nakashima to take a vote on that recommendation.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, hold on.
Should we recess to see if we can get them back on?
Okay, members, we're going to take a brief recess to see if Mr. and Mrs. Goluyuch can log back in. Recess. Reconvening the special meeting of the House Special Committee to consider miscellaneous communication numbers 1001 and 1002. It appears that we have petitioners Goluyuch is back on. So Mrs. Goluyuch, you were explaining and responding to Mr. Luke's request.
Correct. Because we're not attorneys, or because I'm not an attorney, I'm a master's in social work, and I have a question about the validity of postponing the process until April 20th, because there was an administrative hearing a couple of weeks ago, and I am not aware of any of those decisions made at that proceeding. Will that be discussed today?
Mr. Luke, would you like to respond to Mrs. Goluyuch's comment?
I have no idea what she's referring to that has already occurred.
It was an administrative hearing.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Goluyuch. As chair, as we proceed in this investigative matter, all of those pertinent dates as related to the investigation will be laid out for parties as well as members of the committee.
Okay.
Okay. So if there are no further responses regarding the process or Mr. Luke's request, I'd like to return to my recommendation and as my response to Ms. Goluyuch, again, of special note to this committee is that we do, want to respect and assure Representative Har the fullest extent of her due process rights. My recommendation is to postpone a subsequent meeting of this committee, special committee, until sometime after the criminal case against Representative Har has concluded. Again, members, and now this is for members. This is a discussion of the members and the committee. Members, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding either Mr. Luke's request or the process and procedures that we laid out? I believe Representative Matayoshi, you may have had a question.
Yeah, I just had a quick question about if Mr. Luke submits a motion prior to the conclusion of the criminal proceedings, whether this committee will be reconvening to consider that motion or whether we will be waiting until after the criminal proceedings have concluded to consider any motions that he might raise.
Representative Matayoshi, my recommendation is that as I've laid out, the next meeting of this committee would be noticed with two weeks notice. And then the request would be that the parties present any motions, statements, or in response to that at that time 1 week in advance. So at that time, if Mr. Luke has any motions, that will be the time at which it will be presented.
Okay, I'm also wondering if I could, Chair, if Mr. Luke has any idea of an approximate date where any kind of trial or when the criminal process will conclude.
I think that's a fair question. Mr. Luke,
Yes.
can you respond to that question?
It is a fair and a good question. We don't know because it's, as you well know, Representative Matayoshi, the criminal proceedings are, they're certainly not ex parte. They're conducted between the Department of the Prosecuting Attorney as well as defense counsel or defendant represented by counsel. As a result, I cannot speak unilaterally when that might be concluded. I will tell you that there's no effort to delay on the part of Representative Har. We've initiated communications with the Department of the Prosecuting Attorney, which is very common in practically every single case. So there's nothing unusual. Those communications have not been concluded. We do have a calendar that has been set by the court. We anticipate that we will be able to meet the deadlines that are required by the courts as well. The case being pending is, I'm sorry, I wish I could answer your question with a specific answer, but we expect that the matter would be resolved in accordance with the agreement of the parties and the court. That's the best I can tell you.
No trial date set, basically.
I'm sorry?
So I'm assuming there's no trial date that has been set.
No, because the arraignment hasn't yet been held. It's at the arraignment that if a trial date is required or necessitated, then the court will set the trial date. And if there's any conflict with the calendars of the Department of the Prosecuting Attorney or with either my calendar or my client's calendar, we will apprise the court, and the court will either agree to a date that it has originally suggested or will modify that date pursuant to requests of the parties.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Luke.
Thank you very much, Representative Matayoshi.
Any other questions or comments from the members? Okay, seeing none, members, I'm going to modify this by one slight change to this recommendation. I do not anticipate that the criminal proceeding will be delayed, but for any reasons, if it goes beyond the term of the existence of this biennial legislature, at that point, and with 2 weeks notice, I will notice any kind of meeting of the special committee. Again, I don't anticipate that this will be delayed in 2 years, but I will make that determination if we do see that this criminal proceeding is continued or for any reason, if there's an appellate process, I will make that call and then notice a meeting of this committee if we run up against that timeline. Okay. Any response to that further modification, Mr. Luke? Again, I don't anticipate that this is going to drag on beyond 2022.
That makes a lot of sense and it's very fair. And I appreciate that, your consideration for both the petitioners as well as Ms. Har, Representative Har. I will add that, the calendars of the court, both the circuit court and the district court in Honolulu, have been, things have changed over the last year, and they continue to evolve over the succeeding weeks due to the pandemic. We have no control of that. The state judiciary has the sole control over what rules are promulgated and provided to counsel for both the state of Hawaii, be it the Attorney General's office or the Department of the Prosecuting Attorney, as well as defendants. So even though one may want the case to occur on a specific date, the courts will make that ultimate determination. I just want to throw that out so everybody understands that.
Understood. And on that note, Mr. Luke, I would like to further request that as you or Representative Har are apprised of any formal dates within the criminal proceeding, if you could communicate that with me and Vice Chair Mark Nakashima, and then I will relay that information to all committee members as well as petitioners.
Thanks very much. We will do so.
Okay, thank you. Members, so do you understand the chair's recommendation? Vice Chair Nakashima, can you take a vote?
The chair and vice chair vote aye. Representative Chiyama. Aye. Representative Matayoshi. Aye. Representative Russo. Aye. Representative Matsumoto.
Aye.
Your motion is adopted.
Thank you, Vice Chair. On that note, this meeting is adjourned. If there's no further business of this committee. Oh,
I do have a question for Mr. Luke regarding the status of the administrative hearing.
Representative Nakashima, can you direct into the microphone?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I did have a question for Mr. Luke regarding the status of the administrative hearing.
Oh, I think you were referring to the administrative driver's license revocation hearing. I'm not sure if you're referring to that.
Yes.
Oh, okay. If that's the administrative hearing, that case is being handled by a co-counsel, and the current status, I'm not sure specifically what the status is at this time, but it has commenced and I believe it's underway. I'm not sure as to the status currently as of today. I can check on that and let everyone involved know what it is. But it has not been concluded. That much I can tell you because I would have been informed.
Yeah,
if it was.
okay, for the purpose of the committee, can you let the chair know?
Mr. Luke, if you could provide that in writing via letter to myself and Vice Chair Nakashima, and then we will ensure that that communication gets relayed to the members of the special committee as well as petitioners.
Okay, well, I'll do that, and I'll do that as soon as I find out what the status is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Luke. Seeing no further questions or comments by the members and having taken care of the business at hand, this special committee meeting is adjourned at this time. We are adjourned.